Hello and welcome back to Novel Gaming, a podcast about books and video games with double the offerings of other pop culture. I'm Doug.
I'm Katie.
And it's a book club episode, and we are very excited to have read Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, a 2025 book, the fifth book in the Hunger Games series, the original trilogy's second prequel, this one taking place 24 years before the events of the original Hunger Games novel. But before we run off to face the dangers of the Second Quarter Quell, let's explore the cornucopia of things we've been playing, watching, and thinking about lately.
You make it sound so nice in that instance.
Well, you know, we're leading folks into a false sense of security here. So, Katie,
yes,
what have you been playing?
Yeah, I have been playing, actually, also with kids who are kind of experiencing, I'm not sure yet because it's been a while since I've played it, but experiencing like war and violence and fighting earlier than they should. I'm playing Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh, yeah.
The war school one.
Yeah, war school. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So I don't know why I had been kind of finishing some RPGs and just kind of wanted to play another one. And I was looking through what I already had because our backlog challenge is still pretty impactful in how I'm gaming this year.
Hell yeah.
And so I was like, why not play Final Fantasy VIII? And I think I started playing it when we were hanging out, and Final Fantasy VIII has some really interesting mechanics that are way more confusing than previous Final Fantasy games and what I remember to be later Final Fantasy games, though. We'll see what happens when I eventually, replay 9. If it's like, what the hell does this mean? And what am I supposed to do? And I've gotten the hang of it since that first night. But I am always waiting for them to add in new weird mechanics that I don't read the full directions to, because I'm like, I got this. And then I'm like, oh, I'm probably making this harder for myself. But I will continue to do that. But yeah, spending time with Squall.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know that the mechanics are all kind of wonky, but like characters, how are you feeling about the characters so far?
Yeah.
I only know the name Squall. I don't know anything about the characters of this game.
Yeah, so Squall is the brooding boy in this one. There's
silent,
also
right? Doesn't speak at all?
Does speak. So you can choose responses in this,
Gotcha.
At least some of the time. I mean, there's no voice acting. It was a PlayStation 1 game, so not actually audibly speaking, but certainly responds to people or doesn't respond to people because he's a brooding boy. So that's fun and funny. There's a weird teacher mechanic. I just had a cutscene where the teacher revealed that like she's only like a year older than the students. So everything is above
so it's like
board
not
and
weird,
good.
you guys.
Yeah, it's not weird that she's flirting with you, her student.
No.
That's not weird, or that she has a whip.
Has a whip?
Yeah. Just like happenstance,
Yeah.
Then there's two other characters. Zell, who is the punchy punch guy, and he's got a face tattoo. He's
cool.
Very Mike Tyson coded.
Oh, yeah.
And then Selfie, there might be an L in there. And she's like at this point, bubbly girl, Selfie, but PH instead of F. Look at that. Final Fantasy VIII knew about selfies before. But she is like the bubbly girl who wants to make sure the dance happens and is like going to plan it, sort of thing. There was a cutscene with the like love interest of Squall, but they haven't said her name yet, and I can't remember any of the characters. So Squall's the only one I remembered going into it by name.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Nice.
So got weird bad guys to fight, a nice overworld to walk around in.
Nice.
And, if I put the game down and skip too many days, there's no way to tell where I was. So I'm just kind of guessing and wandering.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, this is a fun journey. I'm excited for you.
It's been good so far. How about for you? What are you playing?
I haven't been playing a lot because I've been reading the book we're going to talk about and finishing up the book I talked about last week.
Nice.
And it's been a busy couple of weeks. So all I wanted to do was play like familiar stuff. Like I didn't want to progress in any games. I didn't want to start any because I also still very much have like habits from the backlog challenge. So I was like, I just want to play things that are familiar. I don't want to invest in anything. So I've been dabbling in two things that are familiar. One is Rayman Legends, which is exciting because that's exactly the kind of game that's like familiar. You can just pick it up. It is left to right platforming. The mechanics are very simple, but it's charming and really great game. So that's been serving me very well the past couple weeks. And then also, I don't know why I thought to do this, but I was like, I want to see... Oh, there's been chatter in my Pokemon group chat about Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So I was like, I wonder how far I got in Soul Silver. So I turned that game on and was like, oh, I didn't get very far. Maybe I'll restart this file. But maybe I should see what was on that file first. And I don't know what made me think that. So I checked out what was on the file first, and there was a 2011 event distribution Celebi on that file. So I was like, well, wait, I can't delete this, but I do want to start over. So my big gaming achievement and my big Pokemon achievement that other people are going to be so unimpressed with, but I'm very impressed with for myself, was getting that Celebi from 2011 into my Pokemon home now in 2025.
Hell yes.
And it took me like an hour and a half to do.
Holy
and there
shit.
were some bumps and bruises along the way, but it is safe. It is safe in Pokemon Home.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's a whole process. It's a Gen 4 game. You have to move it from a Gen 4 game into a Gen 5 game. And then you have to move that into like a 3DS game. And then you have to move that into, and it's like so many steps along the way because it's they only move one generation at a time.
Did you know how to do that, or did you have to look it up?
Oh, I had to look it up for sure. I've never done this before. I've never moved anything
that seems very complicated.
Older than maybe Pokemon. I guess I've moved stuff from Black and White, but I don't know. It was way more complicated. I've never moved anything older than that. So I feel very accomplished.
Hell yeah.
I have no real intention of ever doing it again unless I really get attached to this new SoulSilver file, but I don't know how long I'm going to play it because I'm just doing it for the familiarity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've just been doing like comfort games while I've been busy the past couple weeks, but
that makes sense.
Very happy with the decisions I've made.
Good choices. Yeah.
Yeah. What have you been watching?
I have been watching and actually watched all of a show called The Residents on Netflix, which stars Uzo Aduba and Giancarlo Esposito and maybe other people that I'm just blanking on because it's been a little bit since I finished it. Sure. But it's a murder mystery show that takes place in the White House, and Uzo Aduba plays a detective who really loves birding and like kind of doesn't care what people think of her and shows up and does her process. And I don't care kind of if you're the president of the United States, I'm still going to do my process sort of thing. And it was funny. It was sometimes disturbing. There is a murder and they show some stuff. And, you know, people are disturbing sometimes. So it was really good and I enjoyed watching it. I was, you know, invested. I had no idea about, you know, who was going to do what and how things played into whatever, what was an important detail. But it was fun to watch overall.
Gotcha.
And cool to see her, you know, doing things and I don't know, whenever birding is a big part of a show, that's kind of cool.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is the birding part of the detective process?
You would be surprised at how much birding relates to the process, yes.
Okay, I was curious because I very recently learned the term ornithomancy, which is like interpreting bird omens to like make decisions or interpret bird behavior to like forecast your day or whatever. So when you said she was really into birding and also a detective, I was like, I wonder.
I don't remember it getting to that level. What
no bird divination.
Right. But what she does do is think about how, you know, certain characteristics of birds may play out that helps her then think about how a person might react in this space or what might be going on, sort of thing. So it wasn't necessarily divining. There wasn't the mystical or magical. It was more science-based. Yeah.
Sure. Love that. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. And I can't remember if I said this or not, but Shonda rhymes. This is a Shondaland show. So
yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was nice.
Yeah, I want to watch that.
Murdered, you know?
Appropriate for the episode that we're about to
I figured why
into.
not? You know, war college or war high school murder show fits with the theme of the Hunger Games. So
yeah.
Did you read anything theme fitting, or were you looking for relief and comfort as well in what you were watching?
No, my gaming stuff was the exceptions because I said this to my coworkers. I was like, I'm so sorry. I just read the new Hunger Games book. I'm going to be insufferable about the Hunger Games for like at least a week.
Yeah.
And that included finally watching the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which I hadn't seen yet. I'd read the book, but I hadn't seen the movie yet. And I was like, I finished this book earlier than I typically would our book club book. So I was like, I'm not going to get to talk about it. And no one at work has read it yet, which is wild. I work in a fucking library.
I can't believe nobody else that I've interacted with has
what
read
the hell?
This.
It's on Hoopla, you guys. Everyone, Hoopla.
You can access
listen to it right
instantly.
Now. Yeah. So I had no one to talk to about it, so I'm very excited to finally talk about it.
Yes.
But to tide me over, I watched the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes as a little bit of a refresher.
Smart.
But also just to kind of, you know, keep my appetite whetted.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you seen that one? I know you read the book, right?
Yeah, I don't think I watched it, or if I did, I watched it at a point where maybe I was falling asleep or not remembering things.
Oh, that would be rough because it's a long movie. It's told in it's like broken into 3 parts. Like it literally on the screen says like part 1.
I don't think I watched
2.
it then.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just remembering trailers.
Yeah, maybe. I remembered it that the book was interesting in that the actual games are like a pretty small part of that book. And so I was like, but I don't remember exactly how or why or what. So it was very interesting to get back to that story and that world and kind of tie it back to what we're talking about, since what we're talking about is smack dab.
Yep.
Oh yeah, smack dab in the middle. Well, I guess not timeline wise, but like we're reading a story in between that one and the original one. So
yeah,
it was cool. It was very, very cool to finally watch that.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I've been thinking about Hunger Games all week, and it won't leave my brain, which is a nice little escape, even though it's like a violent horror land. But have you been thinking about anything? I know, unfortunately relevant.
Yeah. It's been Hunger Games for me.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's and
it sucks you back in.
It does. I'm like, should I reread the original trilogy again?
I was literally thinking the same
I just
thing.
finished it like a month ago.
I know.
It's so good. It's
you know, I've been telling people at work, I was like, honestly, it's just like with unfortunately how relevant these books are, it is weirdly comforting to have an author like Suzanne Collins who cares about the things I also care about. Yeah. Given that not every author or series has aged the same way. So it is actually, I think, really helpful, given all the stuff that I am thinking about because it's real, to have something like this, not because it is similar, but because it feels like the book and the storyteller get what I'm feeling.
On the same page,
Yeah. So it's been a nice reprieve, as weird as that sounds, for as horrifying as this and the other books are.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very excited to talk about this because it was nice, but also It took me longer to read it because I was like, I can't cry while I'm listening to this in the grocery store again. I can't cry as I'm driving into work again.
Amazing. Well, I mean, no better way to get into it. This might be like the quickest we've ever gotten to a book because
I think
we're
it
like
speaks
stoked.
to how much we just want to talk about it.
Yeah. So let's get right into the book. As a reminder, I mean, we never stopped talking about the fact that we were talking about this book, but if you somehow forgot, we read Sunrise on the Reaping, the brand new book in the Hunger Games series, focusing on the Second Quarter Quell, which is the 50th Hunger Games, and Katniss and Peeta's eventual mentor, Haymitch Abernathy. As I've been saying since we agreed to read this one together, Suzanne Collins is not fucking around. So I am very excited to get into this one.
Yeah. And Doug, this was your pick for this month. So, I mean, I feel like people could guess, but talk about why you chose this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really clear both of us were going to read this, given that we have recently both reread the original trilogy and have been appreciating it as much, if not more, than when we originally read it. And once we saw that it was available right away, it was like, well, why fucking wait? So if we're gonna read it anyway, we're gonna talk about it anyway. Let's just do it now and make it a book club book. So. That's why it's one of the easiest things I think we've ever picked.
Yeah.
One sentence description might also be one of the easiest ones, but do you have one ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, not anything different from what you've already said. You know, the prequel to the Hunger Games, or a prequel to a Hunger Games trilogy that follows Haymitch's Quarter Quell, and is fucking going for it. So it's good to read, but kind of gruesome to read.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that it's a book about propaganda and the way governments use narratives to control people, told through Haymitch Abernathy's Hunger Games story.
Yeah.
And another thing I would add to this, which isn't a one-sentence description, and we're certainly going to talk about the content, but if you're familiar with the Hunger Games, you know the content.
Yeah.
What I will say, and one thing I've been talking about, and I know I've talked about this before, but not on the podcast, I remember when I finished reading the original trilogy and the movies were coming out, or maybe the movies had finished, a lot of conversation was about, like, do you think Suzanne Collins is going to write more Hunger Games books because there's so many years worth of Hunger Games that she could write about? And I remember at that time being like, I kind of hate that people are asking that question so much. I feel like the point of the Hunger Games books is like the horror of the Hunger Games and the way that people got so complacent with them and what they stood for. So it was like weird to me that people were like, she could write 73 other Hunger Games books because there are 73 other Hunger Games. So for a long time, I was sort of like, I don't want more Hunger Games books. I feel like people are missing the point. But then Suzanne Collins comes along, writes a prequel, and is like, I think maybe people missed the point. So let me go ahead and write the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, telling them the story of how this became a televised spectacle. And then people still missed the point.
Horrible.
Right, how a man became horrible.
Yeah.
And then people still missed the point. And I was like, okay, but I kind of get it. And I remember when that came out, I was like, I don't know why we need a story about Coriolanus Snow, you know? But I ended up liking it because I got what she was going for. And then this one came around, and there were just so many stories and essays and headlines of like, Suzanne Collins is sick of your shit. Yeah. And like, she's not pulling punches anymore. She's telling you what the book is about. So now I'm kind of at the point where like, I don't need her to keep writing Hunger Games books forever. But at this point, if she just wants to keep using the Hunger Games books to be like, hey, idiots, fascism sucks. Like, she can keep doing whatever and I'll keep writing it. So if folks feel like they're Hunger Games'd out because it has become sort of like a revived hip franchise or whatever, I would say don't avoid this book. I think Suzanne Collins is extremely aware of the people who don't get the point.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting too, like thinking about the original Hunger Games trilogy and when that came out, kind of the early 2000s, 2010s. And then the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes about how a man got horrible and clings to power and all this kind of stuff came out in 2020. And now
and also has to do with how it became a reality television show.
Right. And yes. And the connections in there, and how all of this, became what it is, what we knew in the original Hunger Games. And then this one's like, I heard some of you missed the big point I was making about things. And I just want to make it super, super clear that this is bad. And this is like really bad. And I'm going to put
not cute.
direct questions in here that is going to challenge you to think about what the fuck you're thinking.
Yeah.
And what
I'm going to open
doing.
this book with 4 quotes about propaganda, lies, and all this shit. Like, truly, truly did not come to play.
Yeah.
And I love it so much. So yeah, really stoked on this one. Again, if you're familiar with like Hunger Games stories, they're so fucking gruesome and violent. They are literally about the government sending children to kill each other on TV to remind the population that they are nothing, basically. So there are very gruesome depictions of person-to-person combat violence. There's state violence committed against pretty much everyone you can imagine. There's Hunger Games style, quote, fantastical arena violence, which to people who have read Hunger Games books know exactly what that means.
Animal experimentation.
Exactly. There's animal experimentation. Given that this is a book way relevant, unfortunately, it heavily features government lies, horrific abuses of power, state propaganda. So stuff that, like, if you are overwhelmed with the current state of things, maybe this book is not the vibe. But for me, I found it extremely cathartic. To read a story that was so relevant and so cutting in its commentary.
And so clear about how this is all bad. Yeah. Any other content stuff you would add for this one? It's so funny because it's Hunger Games is so violent. Like, I think
you can't
you hear all the
accidentally
big
walk
ones.
into one of these and be like, "What?"
Yeah, there's arson also plays a part in it. I can't remember. I mean, there's so many different ways people die in this book.
Yeah. They're hyper violent books, and because this is the 5th book in the series, and Katie and I have read all 5 of them. Massive spoiler warning for Sunrise on the Reaping, but probably also spoiler warning for other Hunger Games books. So
yeah, I will say even in reading this book, it makes a lot of allusions to the other Hunger Games books, both the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and the original trilogy, and straight up has an epilogue that if you didn't read the Hunger Games books, just tells you how it ends.
It's so funny to me that with like things like Star Wars or things like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, people are like, oh, do you watch them in production order or do you watch them in like chronological order according to like in-universe timelines? And Suzanne Collins was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you have to read them in publication order because if you don't, I'm spoiling the majority of the books. Yeah. Incredible. Just like, amazing. This woman.
Yeah, and I feel like it would be hard to talk about. Yeah, I feel like it would be really hard to talk about this book, especially having read all the other ones and not make the connections that she makes within thing, and all the ways you think she makes things show up within this book that play a big role, later or earlier in these novels.
I think you can read this book without the other things and it would narratively make sense, but I think the things she's trying to say would not make as much sense. I think a story about Hamish Abernathy, who you have already met in one state of being, makes this story mean a lot more, even if you can follow it narratively without that. So what we're saying is don't fucking read this book first or second. Read it 5th.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's talk about Sunrise on the Reaping.
Yeah. I would actually love to start with exploring that piece a little bit more, like how much it alludes to other Hunger Games novels and events and things, because one of the things for me that I cried a lot reading this book.
Sure.
And sometimes even just being like, Mags showed up. And I was like,
And what we learn about Mags.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, I already had a really strong appreciation for you based on the little bit we knew. Yeah. And fuck if I don't have even stronger appreciation for you now.
Yes, I feel like knowing some of these characters and being able to make those connections made this book so much more impactful and made, I don't know if it made it more tragic or, I mean, it's tragic all around, but I was just like, just mentioning someone, I was like, oh no, because I knew or did not know them in the future state. And it was like, fuck. How did you react to even the general allusions to all these other things?
Yeah, it's really interesting because a book like this can be really hard to pull off because prequels in general are hard. Because if we already know the characters, we know their fate, right? So we know that Haymitch has to survive this. We know that Mags has to survive this. So figuring out a way to do that compellingly, I think, is really challenging. And I think what she does so well here is she finds these characters that in a very particular point in time because of either Catching Fire, Mockingjay, or both, right? So like we know BT and we know Mags because of Catching Fire and Mockingjay, but they serve very specific roles in those books. And you only kind of know them as these historical figures otherwise. So taking them and bringing them back up here and giving them like not just historical stories, but like human stories and relationships. This book serves kind of as not just a prequel to Katniss's story, but a prequel to the fucking rebellion.
Yeah.
Because this is like a proto-rebellion. It's like a failed version of the successful rebellion. So you meet a bunch of players who 25 years in the making plus have been trying to pull off what we see in Mockingjay. And it only makes, I think, this book stronger for having seen where it goes. And then those stories stronger because you see what they've gone through to get there.
Yeah. It was so interesting too, because in the original Hunger Games books, I remember I think Catching Fire, when they're rewatching old footage and trying to learn about stuff, and they see things, but they see what is allowed for them to see, what they are able to find. And so I remember they talked about Haymitch's games during that. And so it was like really interesting, and to the point about, again, propaganda.
Yep.
Reading the reality of what happened within those games versus the reality of what, people are able to access and know about it later, and how history gets shaped and created. And, even the moments within this book where Haymitch is like I'm jumping right to the end a little bit.
Sure,
but
whatever.
When Haymitch is on stage with Caesar Flickerman watching the run back, the highlights of it, and he's like, did they show these parts of things? I assumed they showed it because of whatever. And now they're showing it in a different way. And the crowd is eating it up. So do they believe this now, even if they saw something different earlier?
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating. It's so smart in two different ways. It is so smart for the things that Suzanne Collins is trying to say, right? Because it becomes so clear so quickly because, again, she's not being subtle, that this book is going to be about how these games go wrong and how the Capitol is going to lie about them.
Right.
That so quickly, and so you can see exactly kind of how things are going to play out. But the other thing that's so smart about that is because it is a games where we know the outcome, she also can write whatever she wants because we only know to this point what Katniss and Peeta and everybody else would have known. So she didn't have to necessarily confine herself to what we saw them watch. And what we saw them watch was so small. And they even, I think, commented on like, wow, there's really like not that much. And like, it's kind of weird. Like we're pretty sure we know what happened, but like there was like a weird flicker. There was a weird cut, or like, I don't remember exactly how they word it. This is exactly why I want to go read them again.
Right. Yeah.
And then, I think, I don't know if it's in that book or if I was just reading about it after the fact, but like Lucy Gray Baird's Hunger Games, there's like almost no record whatsoever of them. They basically scrubbed the history of her games, even though it is like basically the games that turned it into what it is now. So it's so cool to see that stuff. And it's so... like scary and not subtle and relevant. especially as like they're literally instructing government organizations, they being the United States government, instructing government organizations to scrub history from websites and records and erase people from historical records. Like that's literally what she is writing about, and we get to see it all play out in a way that is just so smart. This is such a good idea.
Yes.
And I like how far in advance did she know that she could have done this, like I don't know.
Right.
Incredible.
Yeah. I don't know how long it takes Suzanne Collins to write a book, but I am grateful that it came out at this point.
Truly.
In time. Very much like a good reminder about things, and also like some of the like messaging of like resistance and finding community to help resist, and how you probably will be more successful with like organizing and all that when you are collaborating with others. So
there's truly so much that these characters represent that you can pull from this book and apply to your life depending on what approach you need to take. You know what I mean? Because even things like, BT and Ampert, I feel like there's something so real in what's happening to them that you can apply now and be like, okay, I see what their story means. And so there's so much of that in this book. So I know that was like a lot from where you started of like, but it's a lot. It became really clear early, right, that she was going to be telling this story that we and Peeta and Katniss and the rest of the capital or the rest of the districts as we first met them, a story that they would know. And so immediately I was so excited to see like, okay, so what actually happened in these games? Did Haymitch even win? Did he win? Did they fake his win? Did they set it all up?
Did they fake his reaping?
Right. Did they fake his reaping? That's something I never could have expected. So like every step of the way, there were just constant like shocks in a world that I figured, you couldn't really surprise us in anymore.
Yeah, I feel like, yes, she did a really good job, because when we see President Snow's government in the Hunger Games, it is a much more together government than we see in this one, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's had time to kind of really drill down on people, to kind of smush out resistance, and to get the Hunger Games into a more kind of regular working thing, right? But there are still hiccups in it, mostly caused by individuals, though, right? Not, the chariots running amok and, somebody getting killed in that instance because of chariot stuff. That then Haymitch is able to turn into a moment of resistance, right? And so it was really cool / frustrating to see how disorganized and inept the government was within this book, and how she did such a good job of showing then, okay, they're inept in actually running things, but in controlling the narrative, they are fucking good. And so like, how do you then navigate and how do you, as Haymitch especially, who is, and all these District 12 people are really like, well, fuck this. We're going to paint our own picture. We're not going to be their propaganda. We're going to be our own propaganda. And that is such a strong theme. And they do so much to try to not fall into being able to be used in ways that would promote, the Hunger Games and what President Snow and his government are like trying to do. And yet, the government is still able to smush out these smaller instances, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because what this book could have been is just a really depressing, discouraging, sort of like dark, bleak book. And like, it's a Hunger Games book, so there is obviously darkness and bleakness. But considering Haymitch every step of the way makes goals for himself and tries to write his own story, and is over and over and over either unsuccessful at doing it or his attempts are successful and then erased. Like it would be so easy for this book to just be like, no matter what you try, it doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
But the fact that this goes back to your original question, actually, the fact that she includes characters you are familiar with that you know survive and keep fighting and build off of what they've learned and eventually succeed, even if it's 25 years later, like that makes this book not end up being this depressing, dark, bleak, sort of like, well, fuck it all then, nihilistic sort of book.
Yeah. Well, and I think there is something like in this book that is also like, you're damned if you don't, you're damned if you do. So you might as well do, right?
Totally.
Like the government is going to come after you whether you do this or not. You're either going to die in the games or they're going to, kill people outside of it. They're going to, but guess what? They're already killing people outside of it.
Right,
so
exactly.
Like you are not safe. Nothing you can do can keep you safe. So I mean, there's always risk, right? In like doing things to resist, especially in such a public way that Haymitch is doing it. But I forget the quote exactly in the book. Like, what I've got left to loot, like, there's nothing you can take from me that isn't worth. God. What's that quote?
No, it's a song that Lucy Gray Baird sings. It's nothing you can take from me. I know exactly what you're talking about, but it's like, it's effectively nothing you can take from me. Oh, fuck. Oh, man. Now I'm so frustrated. It. Yeah, but no, I mean, I totally get exactly what you're talking about. And I think Haymitch is such an interesting character to put in this scenario, given where we know he ends up, because he does end up as a result of what happens in this book, turning into somebody who no longer believes. And we absolutely have to talk about like more about how he gets to this point, but gets to a point where he believes that he cannot help people. I can't help people. I can only hurt people. I can only lose things. But we're at a point in this book where he doesn't necessarily feel that way yet. He might at points during the game feel defeated, but because he feels defeated and he's like, well, like you said, you can't take my life away from me because I'm going to sabotage the games, because you're going to take my life away from me anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like even with that kind of like, we know how Haymitch ends up, sort of thing, there is this both hope in what you're saying. We see characters later in this book who end up having a successful resistance and rebellion. But also, even within this book, resistance isn't futile. It's really the only thing you can hold on to, because they're gonna treat you bad and threaten your life constantly anyway, sort of thing. So why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's the exact quote from her song, because I think things may transform over the course of, 65 years. But her song includes "Nothing you can take from me was ever worth keeping. Nothing you can take was ever worth keeping." So
that's right. Yeah. And I will at least still be myself, right? Like, you can't take that sort of thing. Yeah,
exactly. The other side of that being like, if you can take it, then fine. I didn't need it. You can't take the stuff that is me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's, oh my God, there's so much about this. I'm getting so fired up. It's so good. I do want to talk about the Haymitch we start with and the Haymitch that we end with, because when we met him in the trilogy, he is this recluse that no one even really sees anymore. Who has completely drowned himself in, I think they call it just white liquor in the in the district, and who doesn't get close to anybody at all, and he is like a complete curmudgeon, and is begrudgingly mentoring year after year after year because he's the only person who can. So we already know that he is somebody who doesn't believe he can help people, and I guess at the point at which we first meet him, we're sort of like, well, yeah, because the District 12 tributes die every year. So he is seeing every year their failure and feeling like, damn, I'm taking that on. Then we get to this point, and this book truly, because the Capitol is so fucked and because President Snow is so fucked up, basically make it their mission to make Haymitch believe that they're going to kill him in the games. He keeps wondering, how are they going to kill me in the games? How are they going to murder me in the games? It's one of the reasons why he's willing to do so much of the shit that he is willing to do for the rebellion. But it really turns out that they don't care that much about killing him. They care about killing everybody that gets close to him. They care about breaking him down by killing every person he tries to help, every person he commits himself to. It's really devastating to see.
Yeah.
And like, the moment that you see Lulu, what happens to Lulu after having seen what happened to Luella, I was like, oh, fuck. This is going to happen to every single person he gets close to because he's trying really hard not to be close to people. And we know where he ends up. So pretty quickly I was like, damn, I feel like I can see the trajectory of this, and it's all the pieces are starting to fall into place. And I don't know, because of the propaganda of it all, if this is actually how it takes place or not. But I feel like I know what we're in, like what's in store for us.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, we knew Haymitch from the original Hunger Games trilogy. You described him exactly as he's described in those books. And when we truly first meet him in this book, he is a member of the community. He is sober. Yeah. He is a loving, like, brother and son, and a loving, like, partner.
Yeah, he's got a girl he loves.
Yeah,
you know?
And does all he can. He's so thoughtful. He's got friends that he cares about. And so he really is like an important part of the seam, right? He is part of that community. And the distance between that Haymitch and the Haymitch in the Hunger Games trilogy is so vast. And, you know, like you were saying, at first you're like, yeah, I get it. Like, if you see those malnourished, overworked, already kind of starving kids that you have to mentor die every year, it would be hard to keep grounded and to stay, you know, in a healthy state of mind. But in this book, we see so much more how fucked up and like harmful and petty the government truly is around people, because we also hear about Beatty, right? And how he's being punished by having to be at the games and mentor where his son, his 11-year-old son, is like one of the people from it, you know?
Yeah.
And we get allusions to that in like the original Hunger Games, like especially towards the ends when we meet, is his name Finnick?
Finnick Odair.
And his, you know, his story and what he shares. And then we hear a little bit more about how the victors are treated and what they have to deal with. But to see it like started so long ago, and just to see it more kind of firsthand. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. The BT and Ampert story is so devastating to me. I love BT. I loved BT when we first met him in Catching Fire. I loved him since. Love him in the movie, played by the beautiful Jeffrey Wright. So love him even more. And then this is just like so heartbreaking. But you're right. Like, we saw this as how the Capitol treats its victors. I mean, the Finnick Odair thing was really like in that trilogy, the big eye-opening, crushing thing, even after you realize like, oh, Peeta and Katniss's life is going to be puppeted by the Capitol. And that makes sense to us. But then meeting Finnick, who is not somebody that the Capitol views as like a threat to their...
Not a rebel.
Yeah. Right, not a rebel, right? Katniss and Peeta, you just assume like, oh, of course, they fucked up the Hunger Games, so this is all retaliation. But then you get BT, who is a rebel, is a known rebel, and who is constantly trying to do things against the Capitol, but is also a victor who they consult for Hunger Games.
How about
so
that?
They're like, you're actually too smart and valuable for us to kill, but we can ruin your life because we have this much control over you. It's like so fucked up, and it makes me admire him so much more for just not, I mean, he's a fictional character, but like makes me admire him and people like him so much more for sticking with it and being like, this sucks. It will always suck. But like you just said, Katie, like resistance is not futile. It might not work every time. It might not work the first time, but it is not futile. And we see by the time we get to Mockingjay, like it was not for nothing.
Right.
The Ampert thing is so brutal. It's so brutal because, you know, this world, we're so familiar with it at this point. We've seen pretty horrible, petty things done by the Capitol. I mean, the whole conceit of Catching Fire is like, oh, we went from having one victor in Haymitch to having 3. And so how do we get rid of these people who just fucked up our games? Oh, let's just make sure they're the only ones who could be in the games. So at least one of them will just die right away anyway. Like that's fucked up. And I remember reading that book and being like, oh fuck, I know I see what they're doing. This is also so fucked. The fact that they're like, we're just going to make sure that your son, a Victor's son, which I think they said is like really like rare if it's not like a careers district or whatever. So like it would have been obvious to everyone. Like they were making a statement and an example of BT with his extremely young child son. Yeah. And then to have Ampert, who like should not have to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders.
I know.
Work
what a
with his
sweet
dad.
Little guy.
Yeah, to just like try to figure it out. I mean, because they know like, okay, best case scenario is Ampert gets out of this alive, but there's no real way that that's going to happen without breaking the games. So, like we've been talking about, either we try to break the games and hope that Ampert gets out, or we try to break the games anyway and just accept that it might not turn out with Ampert alive. Like it's so fucked up. It's so fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, first I'm going to talk a little bit more about Ampert before I talk about his death, or we talk about his death. But Ampert being also pivotal for creating the only real like alliance other than careers that we've like seen, like getting literally everybody else from all the other districts to come together and say like, we've got the numbers, right?
Symbolic
another message
of a rebellion.
Yes, we've got the numbers. We don't have to accept that this is the way things are. What if we band together and have strength? We don't need to all, right? We don't need to all die because we are apart, right? Like some of us can survive at least longer because of us being together, sort of thing. And so he was like, I don't know if BD was like, hey, this is a great strategy, or if Ampert is just that kid. It seems like he might just be that kid who's like, hey, you want to like join up? I'm super smart and I'm super nice, and I think I'll win everybody over eventually, you know, to join this because this is the best idea, sort of thing. It was so good. It made me like Ampert so much. And then his death was fucking unreal.
The Hunger Games books have done some fucked up, devastating, heartbreaking stuff before. Like, Rue still, fucks me up in every iteration. But what this book does to Ampert, I shouldn't say this book, because the book is doing something which is presenting the Capitol as
an uncaring,
uncaring, callous, petty, terrible thing. So what the Capitol does to Ampert in this book is not, it's extremely intentional, it's extremely violent, and the specific image that she chose of like nothing left but a skeleton is so fucked.
Yeah.
This is like, if there is nothing else in this book to support Suzanne Collins is not fucking around, that moment is undeniably Suzanne Collins is not fucking around.
Yeah.
I was not still or static when I was listening to the book at that part. I was either walking somewhere or like doing stuff in my apartment, and I very like specifically just like stopped and was like, holy fuck. Like that, like to just like process what happened to Ampert and like why, and the message the Capitol was sending, and like what Haymitch would have been going through as a result, and what that meant for the rebellion and BT and everybody's, like, it really fucking hits.
Yeah. Yeah, the no one is safe thing, right? The we don't care about you, we will never care about you. Here's this boy who organized these people, right? Was the heart of like the newcomers thing, and went on that mission with Haymitch to blow up the tank. And as soon as that tank is blown, gets eaten alive by squirrels.
We can reduce you to
like,
nothing.
What the fuck?
It's a message to say to anybody, we can reduce you to nothing if you defy us. And it's a message to Haymitch and to BT, like, we can do things worse than kill you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's so fucked up and it's so
Yeah.
horrible, and the image will be burned into my brain forever.
Yeah.
It's so evocative in the worst ways.
Yeah. I was telling my partner I was reading this, and she's like, "You think they'll make a movie?" I was like, "Probably."
Oh,
but I was
they
like,
announced
"What?"
the movie the same day they announced the book. It's on the way.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Next
but I was
year.
like, it's going to be a brutal movie. Like, reading it, you're creating this picture.
I have to admit, I thought the same thing. I was like, they can't show this.
Yeah. Like,
They can't show this.
is it going to be rated R? Is it the first R-rated Hunger Games movie?
I don't know. I truly, genuinely have no idea how you would depict this. And I know that movies have not shown everything that happens in the Hunger Games books. I mean,
Right.
like with pretty serious examples of, like, in the book, it's a huge deal that PETA ends up like permanently injured. Like one of his legs ends up permanently
Mhm.
injured, and they just don't really touch on that in the
Yeah.
movies very much. So I know that they're willing to take things out, but this is such an important moment in the book, and it's such an important message the Capitol is sending, that there's a part of me that's like, Suzanne Collins, do you hate the studio making this movie? Like, are you like
Made
mad
it
at
hard for
them?
them? Yeah.
right, because this is going to be a big challenge.
Well, there's that.
I have no clue what they're going to do about that,
And,
and so many of the deaths.
right. I was going to say, like, especially, what is it, Welly?
Oh
Who-
my
who
god,
gets
that was the other
beheaded?
moment. That was the other moment that I like had to stop and just be like, I need to pause the book
Yeah.
and just like sit with what just happened. It, like
Yeah.
Amper and that, like really, I had to just stop, because I don't know. I had this conversation with somebody before, and they didn't really like quite understand. So I don't even know if other people feel the same way, because their whole thing was like, killing somebody is killing somebody, murdering somebody is murdering somebody. And I was sort of like, there is something about beheading somebody that feels so much more violent, and I don't know how to describe that or why, but that image also, like having Haymitch be distracted when it's happening and just turn around and
Right.
find out that that's how Welly gets killed, is like so just horrifying.
With then and this is, I remember, like, this is something that sets Haymitch off, not just the beheading, but then the way that Silka treated Welly's head and
Yeah.
just like dropped it like it was nothing,
Yeah,
like,
just like garbage.
I mean, they're yes, killing people bad, but there are definitely more violent ways that people get murdered, like,
Right. There are definitely more violent ways people get murdered, and the way that you murder people or kill people, some of the ways have been devised to send a message,
right.
And I think most, if not all, human cultures and civilizations have some customs about how you treat dead people,
Right.
and the bodies that they inhabited. So
Yeah.
I think there is truly something about leaving one of these children with barely any remains
Right.
and having one of them be beheaded that is just like speechless. I had no words at the
Right.
time, and I'm like out of words now. It's like
yeah.
really,
well,
really affecting.
and I think it, like what you just said, like about how there are customs for how you treat the dead sort of thing. I feel like that plays a big role in this, because it is like no flesh, only a skeleton. That's not the same thing as a comfort as being able to bury like a whole person, a whole body sort of thing.
Because they send these children back.
Right. That scene was fucking wild. Like, there's not, to the families of those kids, there's not even an intact body that you can mourn. You can't even be at peace, like, with that. There's no comfort you're going to get ever from this,
No.
Sort of thing. Things are going to be mutilated beyond.
Yeah. It's so awful. It's truly, truly awful. And like, that's the point, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. And so much of what it is like, these books are so violent, and sometimes you're reading them and you're like shocked at how violent they are. I remember when we both both of us reacted to rereading the original trilogy and being like, God damn it, these are so violent. But there are things that are violent sort of for the sake of violence or to be shocking. I really think these things are violent with a very specific purpose. And she is speaking on things. Like there are, each one of these deaths for the characters we get to know are specifically deaths that were orchestrated by the Capitol to say something, or covered up or retold by the Capitol to say something. So like Luella at the very beginning of the book is killed before the Hunger Games, right? And so you're sort of like, shit, like I guess they go in with 47 instead of 48. I mean, in the last book that we read, there were people who died before the Hunger Games. So like, sure, I guess that's just what they do. So like for them to have that happen, have Haymitch make a whole statement and show of presenting that dead body on President Snow's lawn, and then for them to say, we're going to cover that up and rewrite the story so that that particular death that we didn't orchestrate is still something that we get to send a message about, is so intentional. Like none of this is just gross violence to be gross.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, some of the deaths are because of the information they know kind of about that people, right? So like outside of the Hunger Games, the gumdrops, right? Or like Maisley and like the
pink birds.
Because she worked at a fucking candy shop and she was also somebody who was sticking it to the Capitol. They killed game makers in this Hunger Games. And she was punished very specifically because of that moment, right?
Yeah. We know who you are. We know who your family is. We know what your family does. And we're going to make sure they see themselves when you get brutally murdered on television.
Yep. Yeah. Maisley, such a fucking cool character. And like, I also kind of love the fact that she was like this stupid fucking Mockingjay, you know, with how important that is in like later and to the rebellion. I mean, the fact that it was her pin, and I know Suzanne Collins wrote this after that happened and all that kind of stuff and mentioned Maisley, but it was like so good and so thought out and so like, it's just like a chef's kiss to so many of these details and the way that they tie together that again makes it such a stronger story and gives me so much more appreciation for not only the things that are being written and said, but for Suzanne Collins and the thought and care that she is putting into this book and this series, you know?
Yeah, I think it's so like you said, obviously the Mockingjay pin was already assigned to Maisley, but for her then to write Maisley as a character who rejects the pin as like some ugly bullshit thing she's not interested in, and then goes into the game with the primary goal of like, I am not letting the Capitol ever control my story. Not because fuck the Capitol, not because I'm part of the rebellion, not because I care about this bigger, greater overthrowing, but because I write my story. Like it is like there is a certain self-preservatory like piece of Maisley that connects directly from her rejecting this pin and still standing up very specifically for what she believes in for herself, to Katniss Everdeen not wanting to be the Mockingjay, not wanting to be a part of this, and doing what she does against the Capitol, very specifically against the Capitol, not because she's trying to overthrow them, but because she is pissed and trying to get back to her family. Like, I feel like the fact that she fleshed out Maisley this way is still brilliant, even if it was like, oh shit, like who did I say had that pin? You know what I mean? Like, she still managed to really make an incredibly cool character out of her. And I think it's really cool that Maisley is this character that, you know, it's so easy, I think, to write a character that's like, oh, they're a bitch at the beginning, but then they're redeemed and we all love her. Like, that's not what Maisley is. Maisley is like,
she's still going to be mean to you.
Right. People think that she's mean, and she is. Like, it's you know, and it's more about understanding who Maisley is and not changing who Maisley is, you know? It's sort of like, oh, actually I do get you, and you are really principled and you are really resourceful, and like you know exactly what you are going after, and you're gonna do it with me or not. Like,
Yeah.
It's very cool. I like that she ends up being a character people within the book, and then me as a reader really begin to understand
Yes.
and like really root for without her ever really changing.
No, you just kind of see more of the context around her and who she is. She is mean from start to finish. But what we get to see more is how she is caring, and her meanness has a point, right? Like,
Right.
It's like all like the fact that during training days, she is not really working on any of the training. She is creating things for her fellow newcomer tributes because of multiple reasons, right? Honestly, she knows it's a strategic move so that people will feel connected, but also because she cares. And she's
also
a
genuinely
fashionista.
I was gonna say, and also because she genuinely thinks your token's fucking ugly.
Yeah, and she will make it look better.
Right. If she can happen to help you fashion a bomb out of it, great. But also, she doesn't want to look at your fucking ugly token anymore.
If we're on the same team, you're gonna look better.
Right? It's so good. But I also think there is something cool about presenting her character as, you know, I think we are supposed to initially think that she's really superficial. And again, she doesn't change. But the fact that we get to see how people react to that, and especially through Haymitch's eyes, who's sort of like, none of the shit she's doing matters. Like
Right.
giving people fashion advice, who cares? But then to see people be like, no, actually, I like that someone in this scenario cares at all to tell me that I could look prouder, or that I could look more put together, or that caring about myself isn't vain. You know what I mean?
Or that this
like,
will help disguise that it's actually a fuse cord,
Yeah, right.
Sort of thing.
like it's so purposeful. Without her, there's really no compromising who she is ever. It's really truly just people understanding her over time. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can
agree.
think of another character that initially sort of fits into her archetype that does quite the same thing with her.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so funny that we're kind of like saying, oh, she's kind of one of a kind in here because she's a twin.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting. Like, you know, the building Maisley into this big fleshed out character that connects back to, you know, for lack of a better term, just sort of like a reference or like a passing sort of detail in the original, or at least presented that way, is like a really amazing way to capitalize on some of those details and things that you wrote before. But there are some things in here that are just sort of like interesting connections, right? So the fact that her sister is Marilee Donner, who becomes Marilee Undersea, who is the mayor of District 12 during the original trilogy, is interesting because Katniss Everdeen knows Marilee, or knows Marilee's daughter rather. And then, you know, Katniss's mom was friends with Maisley and Marilee, so there's a connection there that is only furthered because Katniss's family is extremely impoverished, and then Marilee's family goes on to be the mayoral family. Like, it's interesting. Or to see, like, I don't really know what to do with this, and it's not new for these books. They reference it in the original trilogy too. But the fact that they reiterate that Peeta's dad had a crush on Katniss's mom, like, just reminding us of that is like, oh shit, that's right. That's so weird. Like, there's
Things
so
are
many
always
of these little
messy.
it's always messy, but also if you think about it, there are these moments where, specifically with Peeta's dad and Katniss's dad, Peeta's dad, in the most Peeta fucking fashion ever, is so shocked by what's happening at the reaping that he just sort of freezes and is like, what do I do? And Katniss's dad chooses to act in that moment instead of just purely thinking of like, how the fuck do I not get shot? I think he like punches Peeta's dad in the leg or something to like get him to collapse and not get shot, which then obviously butterfly effect goes into Peeta and Katniss and all this sort of stuff. So I don't know. It's interesting. Even when they seem like little details, I guess you kind of start to realize like, actually it's about choosing to act and caring about each other and being a community and like these little acts of rebellion or these little acts of caring or whatever. So I don't know. It's all interesting.
And the ways that some of that manifests later, right? Because Peeta's dad in the Hunger Games books, does he say something to Katniss? Does he come visit her?
I think that Peeta at points is like, my family and my dad, I think, like, care more about you in here than they do about me. They have more
that's right.
confidence in you in here than they do in me. So you see, like, there has been this connection to the Everdeen family. And, like, Otho does know what is her mom's name? Astrid, and who Katniss is, and where their family comes from, and all this sort of stuff. So
maintains an interest.
Yeah, even the little things are so interesting.
Yeah. Man, the Lenore Dove death, I know I mentioned it earlier, but that was fucking rough. And then to see, like, Haymitch was narrating at that point. He's like, oh, the gumdrops, she must have, like, left them there when Sid brought them because she just probably went to go sing and it fell out and whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's right. And then I was like, oh no.
Oh, the moment she says, and we can enjoy the one Sid got me. It was like, fuck.
Stomach dropped.
Fuck. What are you eating?
Yes. Do you please still have those charcoal tabs or something? It was devastating. And the nightmares, right? That Haymitch, like
oh my God.
Like that. I mean, he was breaking, and that broken, like after that moment, like, even though he did not kill her, he felt like he killed her, right?
That was his whole story in the arena too, right? He didn't kill his allies, but he felt like he turned at the wrong moment, or he left at the wrong moment, or he didn't do enough to protect them, or he didn't see the thing he should have. So for him to have these nightmares over and over and be in the nightmare being like, just look at the gumdrops and not be able to look at them in a nightmare is this perfect encapsulation of what he went through in the arena. And it was initially devastating to me because I expected the whole time for her and everyone to be dead by the time he got back. Yes. I figured there's no way he gets to win and go back to people. So obviously they're all going to be dead. And then we see that with his mom and his brother. And I'm like, of course, there it is. And Snow even sort of alludes to it happening before it happens. So then when he finally meets Lenore, I was like, whoa, like, this is wild. I thought she was going to be dead. And so
she does run away.
Okay, maybe they run away. Maybe this is kind of like a Songbirds and Snakes thing where they try it and it goes wrong or whatever. Maybe there's an echo here. So, but then I was like, okay, so it's devastating that she gets killed right as he meets up with her. But it's not just devastating. It's, again, fucking orchestrated. Because for him to get out of the games, there's nothing about this that the Capitol is ever going to let him feel like he survived or won at. So he does not get to go home and have the prize that is Lenore Dove. And it's not because they just took her away. It's because they put her back and made sure he felt like he fucked up or that he was responsible in some way. It's all so orchestrated.
And did it through gumdrops that he would, as he could get a special treat for her would, because he knew she liked them. And so for President Snow to know that and then use that as a mechanism, it's like, I know things about you. I know things about the people that you care about. And I'm going to use that information to never let you rest.
Yeah. God, it's so fucked.
Yeah.
This book is so wild. I mean, there's still so much in here we haven't talked about. I mean, Plutarch Heavensby being in here, and like, I know that we know where Plutarch Heavensby ends up, but for some reason I still just wasn't expecting him to be like all in on the rebellion at this point. I don't know why I wouldn't. It makes perfect sense that he is. But from the jump, his whole team is so fascinating. I was not expecting to see Effie Trinket, and I don't think that they overutilize her. I think Suzanne Collins utilizes her like perfectly, which is like, it would be too convenient for her to just be Haymitch's stylist. It wouldn't really make much sense based on their later relationship, but it would make sense for them to have a long relationship. So here is how it happens. Right. It's like, no, her sister was actually meant to be a part of this team, and she just ends up there.
Yeah, because she loves her sister.
Because she loves her sister, and she loves styling.
And
has some clothes.
Yeah. And is invested in the Hunger Games.
Yeah. The fact that Mags and Wyrus end up being... We talked about Mags a little bit, but learning that Mags... I mean, I think I knew this in my head, but again, these details we learn more of in this book make everything feel so much bigger. The fact that Mags was the first victor to be treated like a celebrity and to be given prize money and to go on tour and all this sort of stuff would be so fucked up for her especially. I mean, it's fucked up for all of them, but for her especially, because then she also then sees it happen over and over and over to everyone else, knowing full well, being old enough to have seen what happened to victors before. And that story, we get so few details about it and we don't need more, but the story of her mentoring somebody to a win and then trying her fucking damnedest during the whole tour to prevent anyone from affecting that kid is like, we know exactly why. Like, you don't need to tell us why. You don't need to give us too many details. We just get it.
Yeah.
And then knowing that we then see her like as an 80-year-old later and people trying so hard to take care of her at the end is like, oh, I'm like getting goosebumps all over again.
Like this like beautiful community sort of thing. And like I'm thinking about her death and how like in the moment she makes the decision for others, like her caring nature, you know, and like how much she's willing to put on the line and help out with, and like Wyrus too, right? Because we see when we met Wyrus in the original Hunger Games trilogy, like she doesn't communicate or think in the same way that she does within this book. And so we see her at a different time where she is still, she's still able to be part of the rebellion throughout all of it. But
like
she is
BT basically has to like interpret for her, right?
Right. Yes. Because of how much the Capitol has tortured her, right? That she is not able to function and communicate as easily as she used to be able to. And so to see her being able to communicate more, being able to do things without maybe direction, right? She cuts the wires or the electricity so that Beatty and Haymitch can meet up and have a rendezvous and talk more freely about things because she understands how the systems work and is able to do those things. Like it's such a seeing these characters and getting more of their context when we only see just snippets of who they are later is so cool, but then also so heartbreaking because we see how bad their lives are and how worse they got.
Ugh, it's like, again, I just keep getting goosebumps as we keep talking about these people, because it's like getting this big full picture now that we have is like so it's funny too, because Mockingjay was for a long time and probably still is like kind of my least favorite book. I love what it does and I love what it stands for and what it means and what it says, but I just wasn't as like, I don't know, into how it was like delivered, or something didn't like hit with me with that book in the way the other ones did.
Yeah.
But now I'm so compelled to go back and read it with the full picture in mind and be like, okay, like give it a fuller shot, knowing what you know.
Yeah.
And even just as an individual story, right? Like this book is so deeply connected to the stories we've gotten so far. But even as an individual story, like Suzanne Collins has not forgotten that she is writing a book, like a book that has a beginning and an end, right? So the fact that she does choose not just people we know, because we do know other people. There are other people that would have been alive at this time. To specifically choose BT, Wyrus, and Mags as the three mentors for Haymitch, because BT really does serve as like an unofficial mentor for Haymitch, specifically with regards to the rebellion. Each one of them within this book, within Haymitch's specific contained story, represents something that he has to remind himself of within the arena, right? So BT is really obvious. It's like, okay, there's something bigger going on. I'm working with BT to do this thing. Wyrus represents the fact that like, okay, she figured out her arena. So if I can just think about the arena the way that Wyrus thought about the arena, I'll be better. And there are points at this where he reminds himself of Wyrus's Hunger Games and how weird they were and how she thrived because she thought differently than people. And then Mags being the reason that he cares the way that he does and like reminds himself that like, I can take this moment to like cry and be vulnerable because I'm pretty sure this gift is from Mags. And when I'm with Mags, I'm allowed to be vulnerable. Like it's, like such smart choices, such incredibly smart choices.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, with how much violence and horror, is within, there are these like beautiful moments of connection and like honestly reasons to keep trying to stay true to who you are
Yeah.
and to fight for like a better right to fight for no sunrise on the Hunger Games, right? On the Reaping, sort of thing. And oh my gosh, I don't think I knew this, that Haymitch was born and his birthday is on Reaping Day.
You know, I wasn't sure if we knew that or not. I couldn't remember if they referenced that. I feel like if anybody would have, it would have been Effie, like not being able to read the room at some point. Mm-hmm. But I genuinely don't remember, and I'm sure someone's yelling at us like, "Of course, it's like a whole thing" or whatever. But yeah, it didn't like matter in the way that it does here, you know?
Yeah.
Because at that point, he doesn't, like, when we meet him in the trilogy, like he wouldn't have cared about that stuff to begin with. Like he's so disconnected from people's customs and experiences and relationships and attempts to connect with him that, like, who cares if it's his birthday? But here, holy fuck.
Right.
And I don't remember who it is. I don't know if it's Ampert. I don't know if it's one of the other kids where he says, like, yesterday was my birthday. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Or like, that sucks or whatever.
Yeah, I think it might have been Ampert because
when he was like picking the lock or whatever, I think is when that happens.
Yeah. Because like so much of what happens when people acknowledge that it's Haymitch's birthday is that Plutarch tries to get him a cake, you know, or President Snow makes some like allusion to it or something. And it's all like
people
this
missing
isn't
the
a
point
good
and trying
thing
to celebrate. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Ampert being the first one to like actually recognize like that actually fucking sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks a lot.
Yeah.
Ugh. God, there's so much. It's so good.
Yeah.
This book's
it's so good.
I feel like I'm like very quickly but gonna end up like re-listening to this book.
I know. And you could, because again, at least at the time of recording, get that library card into Hoopla and you've got instant access to the audiobook. And it's performed well. It's read well on there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what other, is there anything else? Like, I mean, obviously there's tons else we could talk about, but is there anything else you want to make sure we get to here in this one?
Yeah. I think we've probably hit on all the big things. I did like, I don't know if we wanted to talk at all about the epilogue, but it was interesting because we only knew about the stuff from the epilogue from the perspective of Katniss. And so it was interesting and also heartbreaking to hear him still kind of like speaking to Lenore Dove, right? Like, hey, we finally did this thing. I made good on my promise. The only way we could do it, you know, was actually because of, you know, now my new family, like I've got a connection. So I know like the end of the Hunger Games trilogy, there's an epilogue where they do like a cut and it's Peeta and, you know, Katniss and they're having a kid and stuff. But I feel like Haymitch isn't as much a part of that. And I think that one might be shorter or something. So I really liked that he was able to, that we were able to hear from him what we knew to be true, that they were family, that they were all family, and that he believes it too, sort of thing. So I appreciated that, and it felt like a nice little bow, you know, on the book.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. This so easily could, and I don't think it ever will, but so easily could end up having like those Skywalker vibes where you're sort of like, of course, everything comes back to the same. You know, like Lucy Gray Baird is somehow connected to Lenore Dove Baird, who's somehow connected to Katniss, who's connected to Haymitch. Like, it so easily could feel like that, but she avoids making it that in a way that it actually just kind of feels like poetic parallels and like echoes. And like she fills in the details in a way where it's like, no, they're not separate stories that happen to echo each other. They're all the same story.
Well,
like
and
they
it's
all
like
directly lead into each other. And the whole point is that like, District 12 are the most distant, most forgotten about, most shat upon district. And when those people realize that they have any semblance of power and can use it against their oppressors, that's huge. And it results in something huge, you know?
Well, not only are they the most, you know, separate or whatever, but that also means they retain the most of their customs and the most of their community. So it makes sense that all these characters are connected in some way, shape, or form, because it is a smaller community that keeps its traditions more alive and keeps the connections more alive, you know?
And what a fucking mistake on the Capitol to like corral all the Covey into that same exact district, because this is an entire people who rejects having any sort of specific geographical like limitation. So they already don't feel like they are part of that structure. So for them to be right there side by side and hand in hand and part of eventually in a totally different way District 12 and what it stands for, it's sort of like you really fucking set yourself up, Capitol. It might not happen every year. It might only happen every, 25 years, but like you really put the powder keg right over there. It's cool. I'm just so impressed. It really does feel like the kind of thing where I was like, those books are cool and they really say something cool, to like, oh, that's an interesting prequel, to like, holy fuck, this whole series might be like one of my favorite book series of all time. Like it's just genuinely, it's really, really incredible.
Yeah. So thumbs up?
I guess. Yeah, no, massive thumbs up. I really, I didn't really know what to expect. I figured I would enjoy it. Like when I read Songbirds and Snakes, I enjoyed it, but I don't know that we even talked about it that much. It was sort of like, yeah, that was cool, and it was better than I thought it would be, I thought maybe I'd hate it, and I didn't hate it. This one, I just was like, yeah, I'll probably like it, and I really am just so impressed and so, like, I don't know, fired up. It really hits all the points. Again, Suzanne Collins not being subtle and not fucking around with this one, and it's only better clear for it. Yeah. She's Suzanne Collins, and she's here to make it clear. Thumbs up from you, I'm imagining.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was already, after rereading the original trilogy, I was like, damn, are these some of my favorite books? And then after reading this one, I was like, I think they are. And so I am so grateful that this book exists. I'm so glad it came out at this time. And there is so much more that we didn't discuss. So much. If you for some reason listen to us talk about this in spoilers without having read this or any of the other Hunger Games books, like you can still read and get a lot out of it. There's so much in this book and in the series. So read it. Like Doug said, depending on where you're at emotionally and mentally, might be good to read in a little bit, when you're depending on how you react to some of the things that we've talked about, but it is absolutely worth a read. Thanks for listening to us. We would love to hear thoughts. So if you read Sunrise on the Reaping, want to let us know what you're thinking about it. If there are other illusions that you felt were really cool and really strong that we didn't talk about, that you want us to think about, please let us know. We would love to hear that. Let us know through email at novelgamingpodcast@gmail.com or on Blue Sky and Instagram @novelgamingpod. And if you enjoy what we do, please rate, review, and subscribe to Novel Gaming wherever you listen to podcasts. And be sure to check out the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective for other cool queer podcasts. Oh, there was even explicit mention, not a ton, of queerness in this book as well, which I don't remember happening in previous books. But they were saying the Capitol's also homophobic. So that was something.
Okay, I know you're already in the outro.
That's right, let's do it.
But it is actually a little bit of a relief to have it sounds weird to say this. It is a little bit of a relief to have the Capitol be homophobic, because these books have run the risk, just based on the societal structure, of presenting the Capitol in sort of queer ways, because of how camp they present and the camp and all this sort of stuff. So it's actually kind of a relief to be like, no, it is all a front. It's not meant to be like the queer coded villain type of thing. It's just they really are just vain, shitty people. Yeah.
Never a bad point to talk about the Hunger Games. So if you want to hear more discussions around things like this and talking about queerness, that Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective. And we're going to be back with our next episode in a couple weeks.
Yeah. See you then.
Bye.